You are listening to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur, the podcast for the African American woman veteran entrepreneur, with topics that are important to the transition from military into entrepreneurship. Your host is Rolanda Sumner, the visionary Sister Soldier Entrepreneur and U.S. Army veteran. Hey ladies! Okay, so in this episode, I'm going to talk about my experience at VWise and why you should attend. But before we get started, I'm going to share some statistical information with you so that you can understand the importance of VWise and why you should attend. And I absolutely think you should attend even if you're not sure if you want to do a business. Let's get started. Okay. So there are over 3,000 graduates from the VWise program. $41 million have been earned in revenue by VWise graduate businesses. 65% of all graduates have started, continue to grow their own businesses, which is a really good number. 93% of those are still in operation today. 93% of the 65% who have businesses, started and continue to have businesses, are still in operation today. 1 out of every 5 graduate businesses grosses $100,000 a year. It's really good. Top 5 industries represented at VWise are professional services, retail, health service, real estate, and social services. And then 4.27 is the average number of people employed by a VWise graduate. So not only do we start businesses and graduate from the program, but graduates also employ people. What a way to make an impact on your community, on the country. And then last, 1,003 is the number of people currently employed by VWise graduate businesses. Again, what a wonderful way to make a positive impact on your community and on the country. To employ other people, if you can, if you want to, if your life is designed around there. But there's so many different ways to employ people, isn't there? You can have telecommunicating employees, like virtual assistants. You can contract people to help you. See, they don't have to be technically your employee. They can be contracted services. Like, you're like, look, I just want to contract a virtual assistant. I don't want to have to pay the health insurance because I can't afford it, but I want to pay someone to help me with this job. So I think that is pretty impressive. So stay tuned and listen, check out what I experienced at VWise, and then go to the show notes and apply. The application process is free and easy. Hi everybody, it's been a couple of weeks. I haven't posted an episode in probably like 2 or 3 weeks, or ever since I announced that I'm closing Butter Angels for good and opening up a new business. And I do apologize for that. I've been trying to get ready for VWise. And so that included a lot of homework, a lot of focus, a lot of study. And I was just taking it very seriously because this is an opportunity that I wanted to make the most out of. And so that kind of required me to step back and not do anything else, social media wise or podcast or Facebook wise. But I'm back now. And this episode, I really want to go into my trip to VWise and what I learned, and what I wished I would have learned, and why I would do it all over again. But before we go into that, I want to tell you guys some more exciting news. Okay, so remember about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I told you that I was closing Butter Angels, and it was the end of the season, and I was going to just do a few solo episodes here and there, and then I would have some recaps here and there, but I wouldn't leave you guys hanging, right? Okay. Well, the new exciting news is I have a name for the business. I have a business license, my EIN, have all that stuff, and I'm starting to get everything moving. Now, I'm not going to launch, like have an official launch until January 2019. I'm pretty stuck on that date. I want to have time to launch it properly and just get buzz around it. And I have some things business-wise I want to take care of. I want to make sure like I have some funding, and I just want to make sure everything is smooth once I launch. But between now and then, I'll be putting some things in place so that there's a smooth launch and the business goes smoothly. Like I have to create my systems so when I do get clients, it's smooth for them. I really want to have a very smooth onboarding process for my clients. I want to have a smooth offboarding process for my clients. And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of listening. I really do need to, I am currently listening to the buzzword and listening to you guys out there to find out what is best, what you want, and how I can give it to you in a manner that you will accept and be happy about. So that takes a little planning. It takes a little work. But I'm really excited about it because this, like about 3 weeks ago, I had no idea what I was going to even call it. I just knew I was going to do it. I knew I couldn't name it Sister Soldier Entrepreneur because there are a lot of Sister Soldiers names out there, and it wouldn't get through trademarking. So I had to do some research on that. And then my avatar, my brand avatar, is the cross between two women that I look up to. I kind of blended their lives and their attitudes and their names together. And I asked both of them, hey, what do you think I should name the business? And the first person who came to me, she said I should name it. One of the suggestions she had was Life After Service. It really stuck with me and I love it. And so when I went to VWise, I tried it out and it was really well received. So now the business is named Life After Service Transitional Coaching. It tells you exactly what I'll be doing and what it's about. How can you beat that, right? And so I'm excited about that. I have a name, yay. And I know what I'm going to be doing, which is I'll be assisting women veterans in their military transition from the military into entrepreneurship. Now I have to get that tagline or those first few words together more smoothly, but that's basically what I'm going to be doing. I just really feel passionately about veterans, but particularly women veterans. You guys know how you have a sweet spot in my heart. Having a good transition. I just feel like Uncle Sam and Aunt Rosie the Riveter, but Aunt Rosie put 8 weeks of basic training and 8 to 64 weeks of job training into us, whether it's AIT or whatever you call it in your service, so that we can be the best and model soldier, Marine, Coastie, Airman, sailor that we can be. And then when it's time to leave, they give us a mandatory 7 days. And if you are lucky, if you're deemed not non-mission critical, if if they're just like, look, we're done with you, then you get to go, you might be able to go to the Boots to Business event or class for 2 days. So if you're lucky, you get 9 days of transitioning. I'm sorry, but it takes more than 9 days to get me prepared for the military. Get me prepared for the outside world. Particularly if you spent any time in the military. If you spent over 10 years in the military, that's a lot of unprogramming you have to do. And I also believe that active duty service members are not the only ones who will experience a transition. National Guard and reservists will feel a transition too. Maybe not as strong as their active duty counterparts, but definitely is there, because that camaraderie, that and the time, the schedule, you're used to a certain rhythm, it's not there anymore. And so I want to help women veterans transition out. I want to be their battle buddy. I want to hold their hand and say, hey, let's go through this together. By no means am I a counselor. And I will refer you to counseling if, I discover that I, shook some things up and now you need to delve deeper with the counselor. But I'm definitely here for that servicewoman who's like, look, I feel alone and I don't want to be alone. Can you help me? And then entrepreneurship comes into play, because getting all of the information you need, getting most of the information you need, getting some of the information you need to be a successful entrepreneur is a pain. And it's very difficult to go to just one place or get straight answers. I don't know everything, but I do know a lot of people. And so I want to share my network. I want to share my knowledge. I want to share my resources with you and say, hey, okay, you want to go to this program, or you know what? I think you should go to this program like VWise or EBV or whatever programs out there for veterans and for civilians, and lead you in the right direction so you're not like scrambling around. One of the things that really frustrated me, particularly in the beginning, is when I asked people questions about starting their own business and where did they find resources, I got a lot of vague answers, as if sharing the information was going to destroy them. I was really disheartened by that, because I'm a sharer. Like, if I know something, I'm telling you. I'm sitting down and I'm telling you all the pitfalls and, oh, don't do that because this is what might happen and you should talk to so and so, because there's an abundance of information. There's an abundance of wealth out there for everyone. So there's not really a reason why. I don't feel like there's too many reasons out here why I would hold back very general resources. Like, why would I do that? Particularly if these resources don't get enough traffic, they close down. I don't want you to close down. So guess what? I'm going to share, and I want to share that with my clients. There's a lot of emphasis on getting employment when you leave the military, and it's absolutely necessary. Almost all of us have to get a job. And if we don't need to have a job, if you're starting your business, you're going to need a job. So by no means am I reducing the importance of employment in the military transition. However, it is not the only path that someone can take or land on. I do believe that when you go after your business idea or your desire, what have you, you're going to need a job. But I want to focus on helping you with your business or getting started or leading you in the right direction while you transition. Because one thing, transitioning is very confusing. It can be very lonely. It can be frustrating. It's just a little like chaotic at first and sometimes in the middle. But then it's more chaotic when you have to go also find out how you're going to make your dream come true, and everybody's giving you these really vague answers. They're like, well, they'll give you some like specific answers that you can just click on the internet if you know what to type in, but they're not going to really give you too much information because they don't want, they had to hustle to get it, so they don't want to just give it to you. Why should we make it easier for you? My response to that question is, why should I make it easier for you? Is because there are so many things in small business ownership and entrepreneurship that really you don't have to make it harder than you don't have to make it harder for me. I'm going to have to work hard if I'm going to be successful anyway. So go on and share that information, please. So enough with that. I want to talk about VWise. VWise stands for Veteran Women Igniting the Spirit of Entrepreneurship. And it's a program that is created by the University of Syracuse. They also have another program that is called EBV. But this one is created by the University of Syracuse, and it's the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. And they specifically focus on military families and entrepreneurship. Why is this important? Because small business ownership, I think, is the key to America. Most of the businesses in this country are developed by small businesses. Small businesses move they set the tone for the finances in the country, right? Entrepreneurship can completely change a disenfranchised neighborhood. It can completely change so many things. And so why not dedicate a whole institute behind veterans and entrepreneurship? One thing is, not everybody is cut out to be back in the workforce. It's a totally different place. Corporate America is not very welcoming to the service member. They say they are, but they don't really know what to do with us if we don't conform to them. Some service members, going back into the workplace can be detrimental. It can be full of triggers, and it's hard to make the change. It's hard to transform yourself into what corporate America wants you to be. It's just really difficult to navigate. So guess what? There's entrepreneurship, and if you can just hold on just long enough to make your own business, then you can shape your life. You can shape your business around your life. So if you have a mental health issue, if you have a physical health issue, if you have family issues, if you just want autonomy, period, entrepreneurship is your way to go. I mean, I'm not going to be foolish to say that there's no work to getting there, but it's definitely your way to go. So VWise has these conferences about 2, 3, sometimes I think 2 or 3 times a year, and it's really easy to apply for. The prerequisites are that you have to be a service member, or you have to be the spouse of a service member. And the application process is really easy. Just click in on the search engine VWise, and then type in veteran women, and it'll pop up. And you just fill out the application. The application process is pretty easy. And then once you get accepted, you choose a date and time of where you want to go to the conference. Now, if you can't make it to the conference, that's okay. You just tell them I can't make it, and then they'll move you over to the next date. And what they do is they move this conference from East Coast to West Coast. So one conference might be on the East Coast, and then the next time it's going to be on the West Coast, and it'll bop back and forth. And that makes sure that everybody has an opportunity to go. The beauty about VWise is you don't have to pay for the conference itself. All you have to do is get there. They will pay for your lodging. They will feed you and feed you some more. You just gotta fly, drive, walk. Any way you can get there, just get there. You might have a small fee. Like this time I paid $75 to go, but that's minuscule, because conferences like these cost thousands of dollars to go. Like all the food and the lodging and everything, it costs so much more. So $75 plus a plane ticket was nothing. And you just have to, they'll give you everything. They'll give you a pen, a notebook. If you just happen to show up with a bag and you're like, oops, I forgot my pen and notebook, guess what? You're going to get it. They give you a sweet swag bag with all kinds of goodies inside. And it's just a great opportunity. Those who attend VWise are exponentially more, the possibility of being successful in your business is exponentially more. So I think they said that the average business closes within 2 to 3 years. With VWise, they have a reputation of businesses staying open in excess of 5 years. So, and it's a growing organization. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. And it's not advertised widely. It's advertised through word of mouth. And so that's how I found out. I think that's how almost everybody who's gone has found out. It's word of mouth. You have somebody who went and you're like, this was great. You ought to go, and then they look into it. And their staff works hard to make sure that every detail is perfect. And they work really hard to make sure that you're happy and that you have everything you need and that there's structure. It's an excellent, excellent opportunity. Even if you're not sure, you're like, look, I don't know if I want to own a business someday. Somebody said I should go. Go. Definitely go. And if you can go before you leave the military, that's even better. Maybe they can give you orders or something. I don't know. But I would definitely, it's worth it. It's just 3 days. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You fly in on Friday, and then you leave on Sunday. It's perfect. It's excellent. I think anybody can get away for 3 days. Now, a word from our sponsors. Podbean is an easy-to-use, all-in-one podcast hosting and publishing platform. Podbean offers podcasting with no limits, and all plans have robust features to help you succeed with your podcast. You can even record and publish podcasts right from your mobile phone with the Podbean app. Podbean also offers integrated monetization tools so you can even earn revenue for the work you create. For 1 month free, click on the link below. Now let's get back to the program. So let's talk about, I want to break down the activities. I flew in, and on the flight, on my second leg, on the way in, I met a military spouse. I'm not going to tell you her name because she's very shy. I don't want to embarrass her. But instantly, I made a friend on the way there. She had this awesome opportunity or awesome concept for her new business. It has something to do with education. It's so unique that I won't share with you what it is. But it was just so awesome to show up and then meet somebody. And you know how we do in the military. We find friends like anywhere we go. So we got there. We got a snack because we arrived a little bit early. And VUIs made arrangements. So if we showed up early, we can either check in or we can drop our bag with the concierge. And then we can go do what we wanted to for a little while. We went out to eat. We checked in. We went out to eat for lunch. And when we got back, we went in our room for a hot second. And it was like 15 whole minutes. And then when we came downstairs to check in, there was food. Like, really? So if you show up at 4 o'clock, whenever check-in is, they have a whole spread of snacks or whatever waiting for you. We checked in, and they had opening ceremony, and it was just full of music and energy. There were so many different women. Let me back up some though. Before you go, you have 3 weeks of homework. Every day is filled with some type of homework. And so you end up meeting a lot of these women before you even get there. You end up getting acquainted with them because you have to interact with each other online, and then you're doing your homework. And so you're kind of looking for some people. I was so excited that I didn't really look, but if I recognized somebody, it was like, hey, hi. But a lot of the women look familiar because you've already seen them online. So it wasn't like you're walking into a just cold, strange room. And then you go in and you sit down and you eat, if you choose to eat, and then they have the opening ceremony. And you can do your headshots. I had gotten my headshots done. So I went upstairs, I took a shower, I changed, had my headshot done, and then I came back downstairs. Went back upstairs, changed, and came back downstairs. And so they have opening ceremonies, and they do the Pledge of Allegiance, and the keynote speakers speak, and they introduce themselves. we hear about their story, and then you just go network. They release you to network, which is a wonderful time because you end up talking to a bunch of people you don't really know, but you end up just talking. So you might meet 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 women that night because you went into a room and they were talking, and you put yourself out there, and then you walk away with business cards and connections with women that you'll actually follow up with. And so that was good. And did I mention they have food? I love to eat, and it was delicious. And then the next day, it starts super early. Well, it doesn't start super early, but it starts at 7 o'clock. So if you are tired, if you had a long flight, if you had a long week leading up to it and you didn't get enough rest, and then you get there, waking up at 6 so you can be ready at 7 may not be your cup of tea. You might be like a little sleepy. I know I was sleepy for a little while. Plus, I had to take a whole bunch of allergy medicine just to clear my sinuses up so I could fly. But it's fine because breakfast is delicious, and you end up sitting down with some new strangers and talk to someone else, and that's also wonderful. Listen, I'm an introvert, so meeting new people is difficult, but if you put food and laughter with it, it always makes it easier, and it's worth it. The first keynote speaker we had on Saturday morning this is Sarah Bay. She's a Journey agent and the owner of Journey Agent Productions. And I absolutely loved her. She was earthy, she was real, she was fun, and she helped us with our 90-second pitch. She was also, you got to sign up for the pitch party. And so to get us ready for the pitch party, she did some instant pitches right there. People rose their hand and they was like, well, I want to try right now. And she let them do it. And it was pretty awesome. And what I learned in those few minutes that morning were, I was in the room with greatness. We had women who just had a concept like myself, hadn't started the business yet. We had women who never started a business before. We had women who were bringing in millions in revenue per year. And there was almost nobody who came in with like an air of superiority. Everybody was there to learn. And there was no animosity. There was no like negative feelings between the military woman and the spouse. You couldn't tell who was who unless they identified themselves. It was a cool space to be in, very welcoming. So we saw, they did their pitches, and that was pretty cool. And it gave you an idea of what you should prepare. Even though they give you a card, it's nice to hear commentary earlier in the day so you can get your mind right for that evening. And then we started our classes. And one of the classes we had was opportunity recognition. We had business planning 101. We had economics, financing. We had a keynote speaker. His name was Larry Broughton. He was a Green Beret veteran. He had a very, very funny story about how he got into the military and how he started his business, and that was nice. Then they had closing remarks and some more instructions, and then we went back to class. So basically, Saturday was jam-packed full of classes and keynote speakers. There wasn't a moment that was wasted. Literally wasn't a moment. And one of the things they tell you is to breathe. Breathe, because when you leave, you have access to all this stuff. They're going to give us a link, and we go back to the link, and all of the information they're training us that we may or may not have missed, we have access to later, which was awesome. So there was marketing classes, financing. We had another keynote speaker, Neil Godfrey. She was hilarious, and she told us how she got into the executive path in the 70s when women were executives. You got to see her, you got to listen to her story. I'm not going to give anything away. And then they let those who didn't get headshots the night before, at 6 o'clock, we were able to do the exhibitor hour. So we were able to go speak. They had people as guests there, like vendors, and you got to go meet them. You got to go do the pitch party. I took place in the pitch party. That was awesome. And more professional headshots. And then you got to speak to the speakers, and they helped you figure out your business and such. Let's talk about this pitch party. You don't have to have a pitch ready. They warn you before you leave that there's a pitch party and you have to sign up for it. And if there is time afterwards to have a couple of other people, they'll let you. If you go to VWise, I highly suggest you participate in the pitch party. I think they only have like 7 spots, or this time they only had 7 spots per time slot, but it was absolutely worth it. It was 90 seconds and you just did the best pitch you could. And she was very gentle and very honest, very clear, and very real. And that was wonderful to have somebody say, okay, this is what I would have liked to see. And she let others in the crowd provide comment and support. So that was good too. Some of these pitches, I'm like, why'd you even do the pitch party? You were so good. Like, you've done this before, clearly. And then there were those of us who needed a little bit more practice. But it was an opportunity for you to practice. It was an opportunity for you to get in the hot seat and do the best you could and get some live feedback to make you better. And I thought it was wonderful. I encourage anybody and everybody to do the pitch party. And if you don't want to attend, because there's still lots of information to learn, like you learn about these wonderful business endeavors that are out there. And if you want to see if your concept is good, do the pitch party, because you'll see the faces of the crowd. It's not a big crowd, but you'll see the faces of the people who are watching the audience. And if it's really good, someone will come up to you afterwards and say, hey, can we talk more about that? So to me, the pitch party and just being at VWise, because you get a couple of times where you'll get to talk about the concept of your business in an open forum, it was confirmation that I was on the right track, that it was definitely needed. And I just needed to tighten things up to make it excellent. And then I'm not going to lie, Saturday, I was such a party pooper. Like, I was exhausted Saturday night. So I didn't stay up. After 8 o'clock, I just went to my room and took a shower and went to bed. I was so tired. So I just went to bed. Some people went out. I just didn't even have the strength to do it, which tells me I need to work out because I shouldn't have been so tired. Sunday, it was a bright and early morning again, and everything started at 7:30. Ooh, we got a half hour. But this time for breakfast, you didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to listen to like a pitch. You didn't have to listen to a pitch or a keynote speaker. You got 30 minutes of just time to eat and talk with your new friends. And that was nice. I was glad they recognized that we kind of needed a break. And then at 8 o'clock, they started the keynote speakers. And we did that for about an hour. And then we went to more classes. This is why I think Sunday was so special. Sunday had some serious information. I think I learned the most on Sunday. One of the classes was resources. It was just a class about resources, free resources, paid resources, resources for resources' sake. And that's awesome because you need all the resources you can get as an entrepreneur. But the 2 classes I wish they would have made all day were Jackie Robinson Burnett's class on small business contracts, navigating the federal government marketplace. So Jackie Robinson Burnett is a national expert in federal contracts, on obtaining federal contracts. She's been in the system and has focused on that line of expertise for 35 years. Now, she does not look, she looks like she's 35. So, like, it kind of makes you wonder, did she start at birth? Seriously. She is gorgeous. She's super young looking. Um, she got that melanin on lock. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm still doing the math on how old she really is. But she's an expert, and her path to to meeting us that day was amazing. Like, she was basically promoted to every stage. And she talks about how at one point she really kind of felt inadequate because she didn't have a master's degree. She had a bachelor's degree, and she had just done federal contracting, and she wasn't a military person. She wasn't a veteran. Her husband was the veteran. And, you know, the people who worked with her and supervised her, and even for her, they were like, we love you. We absolutely love your hard work. We love your how you are a willing team player. And so she worked her butt off and provided excellence and helped her teammates. And she's basically the leading person for federal contracts. And she's got an executive job now. Like, they created a spot for her at this big bank in DC. I can't remember the bank, but her story as to how she got there is absolutely amazing. I think you can find her on LinkedIn at Jackie R. Burnett. That class was outstanding, and we didn't even get deep into it. She only had time to give us a little taste of it, and we were like, oh my God, we have to leave. It was so much information. It was so good. And then the other class that I really enjoyed was the Fortune 500, contracting with the Fortune 500. Now, this class was particularly interesting because it tells you how to do federal contracting. I mean, how to do contracts with civilian companies. And actually it was a panel, and it was called Doing Business with Fortune 500 Companies, and it was specifically about contracting with them. They talked about the different tiers. They talked about how to create, or the importance of a capability statement. It was so good. The panelists were George Marsh. He's the Chief Development Officer of Women's Business Development Center in Chicago. And then we also had, I can't find her name. She ran a class too. I'll tell you in a second. But it was it was very informative, very, very informative class. And when I tell you, I wish they would have drawn it out a little bit longer. It was just such a good class. What I learned was that civilian companies, Fortune 500 big corporate companies, dwarf federal contracts. They award a lot more contracts and contracting opportunities than the federal government. And the federal government does a lot of work. So if contracting is something that you want to get involved in, my takeaway was you need to march down to the SBDC, SBA score and tell them that you need someone who is going to help you get on the fast track to contracting, so they can tell you how to do it appropriately, because it's a whole entire process. It's a whole process. It's a preparation. And don't always think you need to go for the primary jobs, because that's a lot of responsibility and it's a lot of work. At first, they suggest that you start off on the lower tiers, like tier 2, which means you work for the primary, or tier 3, which means you have 2 people above you in the contract. There's 2 other contracts that are above you, or even tier 4. Start off on the subordinate ones and get your feet wet and get your capability statement going, and then climb up, which I thought was an awesome idea. This is what I witnessed, though. So there was a young woman there and I remember her first name was Venus. God help me, I can't remember the rest of her name, but she was so sweet, had an awesome aura. And she also ran an IT company she specialized in cybersecurity. She asked a couple of pointed questions that we were all ears on because they were very specific questions and we wanted to know the answer. It was like really good questions. And then he finished answering the questions and she was like, well, I have my capability statement. Here you go. And he was like, oh my goodness, you're talking my language. I want to talk to you afterwards. I mean, she was prepared. And I thought she got a standing ovation from us because she was ready. She came to make deals. And it proved that you can go to VWise for a number of reasons. Even if you're seasoned and you have a business, you never know who you're going to meet. You might show up to VWise and coming with the purpose of networking and expanding your network, which is an awesome reason. And you end up walking out with the very likely possibility that you're about to get a contract. So that was it was awesome to see. It was beautiful to see. At the end of the day, though, I think that VWise is awesome. And I highly suggest that you attend. There's a lot of time, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of love that is put into this event. And the people who volunteer to be there believe in the event. A lot of the speakers have gone to every VWise ever created, and those who haven't have consistently returned once they started their first VWise. Once they started being a guest of the first VWise, they consistently returned, which says a lot because you can go to events and you only see that speaker has only been there once or twice. It says a lot when you go to an event and the people who are presenting and keynote speaking and doing all the work, they're like, we've been here since the beginning. We absolutely believe in this project and we want more people to come. And it was a mix of civilian and veterans. So it was great. So when you go, you're going to walk out with more than swag. You're going to walk out with more than swag. You're going to walk out with knowledge. You're going to walk out with a network that you're going to follow up with. You might even walk out with some clients. You just don't know. But you definitely have to attend. It's a beautiful event. And everybody's welcome. Like absolutely everybody's welcome. Black, white, Spanish. I saw like faces of all nations there. All walks of life. They had LGBT, they had, straight. It was just very diverse. For the exception that it was just women, it was very diverse. And I just felt honored to be in the presence of all of those wonderful women because I met some really phenomenal people, and I'm just excited. So if you have not decided to go, I would strongly suggest that you attend. The application process is very easy. The staff is very approachable. Like I remember having emails over and over again. They'll talk back to you and I didn't sign up and go right away. I signed up 2 years ago and I kept pushing it off because I was like, I can't go. And this year I was like, babe, I want to go. He's like, okay, I think we can make it happen. And so I went and I'm glad I did. And the whole 2 years I was like, oh, this is, I really like to go and I can't make it this time. And what do I do? And blah, blah, blah. They jump back and forth between East Coast, West Coast. So if you come in the East Coast, they might have it in Pittsburgh, Charleston, or Atlanta, or somewhere around there. They usually go back to the same places. West Coast, the same thing. They'll have it in 3 separate places, or 2 or 3 separate places. You have to look online, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So look in the comments, or not look in the comments, look in the show notes below. you will see a link to the VY's website where you can go and apply. I highly suggest you apply. And just check out their social media. Check out hashtag VYs. And you'll see hashtag VYs in whatever city it was. I went to Pittsburgh. So check out hashtag VYs and see what people are saying. See what the guests are saying. Look at the smiling faces. Really just enjoy what's out there. Do your research. You'll find that it's an awesome opportunity. And plus, at the end of VYs, there are funding options available. They'll tell you, like, here you go. Check out these funding options. Now, I will tell you, we did a whole bunch of homework, and I did not see any of the homework come up in these classes. However, I was glad I did the homework because I went with a finished business plan. Like, I did all the homework, and then I did my business plan, and then I came with my business plan in tow. I didn't have anybody look at it because while I was getting all this information, I got kind of confused about the path I was going to go on. So I had to take a pause because I was like, well, I don't want to present this and then, this is not where I want to go. And plus I have a SCORE mentor, so I just figured I'd come home, think about it some more, and have my SCORE mentor check it out. But I can't say enough about it. If I was to do, if I was asked to do it again, if they let me do it again, I'll do it again. I think it's a one-shot deal, but I would do it again because it's just that awesome. So thank you so much for hearing me babble about VYs and why you should go. And other opportunities that come up, I'll definitely share them with you. Hopefully next year I can go to EBV, which is 9 days in Texas, or Syracuse. But again, all of these resources, as they come up and I learn about them, I'll share them with you because there are hidden secrets that every woman veteran should know. So you guys have a good night. Comment below, share with your friends. Let's get the word out about life after service. And for a little while, it's going to still say Sister Soldier Entrepreneur until I get the logo and the brand colors and everything right. But that doesn't mean you cannot share it. So go ahead and share it. Let your friends know, let your family know, get the word out there. So when I launch, you guys are ready to receive the help that I'm offering. Tell me what you want me to cover, and I'm here for you. Thank you for listening to Sister Soldier Entrepreneur, the podcast for the African American woman veteran entrepreneur, which covers topics and subject matter important to the transition from military into entrepreneurship. If you would like to be a guest on Sister Soldier Entrepreneur, please visit sistersoldierentrepreneur.com and click on Guest Blogger Interviewee. If you have specific topics you would like us to address, questions you would like me to answer, please list them in the comments below. And as always, we look forward to speaking with you next week on Friday at midnight Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, and I look forward to speaking to you then.